Hello, this is Mr. B. This channel is to help Joe Plumber and his wife navigate the financial world. And it's a hostile world and it's against us. And today I'd just like to go over a little bit about Bitcoin, how to store your currencies. There's people like to talk a lot about hard wallets and this and that, and the reality is a bit different. There's the people who are promoting the hard wallets, like the air gap wallets and that, they have a financial gain, some of them. So while many of them are correct, I have a few stories to tell you about this world, the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency wallet world. So the main thing is there's the Bitcoin is basically a big Excel sheet the whole world shares. And there's a special algorithm to protect it from abuse, and that's what the miners protect. And you have two numbers. You have a public address and a private address. And your wallet is basically your private address. And if you share that with anyone, they can take everything in your wallet. So that's the real thing you want to keep private. Now, what everyone makes it much more complicated than it is. It's really just two things. You need to have that private key in order to make any transactions with your wallet. And if you want someone to send you something, you need your public key. So if I wanted to send you a million Satoshis, which is right now it's about $300, then I would say, can you give me a public key? So you would send me a string of text or a barcode to scan. I'd scan it and I would send you the Bitcoin. Now, in order for it to leave my wallet, I'd have to sign it with my wallet and my private key. So my wallet knows that I'm using the private key, and it would use my private key to sign a transaction, and it would send it from my public address. So you'd see it coming from my public address to your public address, and then it would be transferred on the ledger, general ledger, the blockchain, to your public address linked to your private key. So everyone makes it much more complicated than it needs to be. It's actually a little bit more simple. It's basically just those two numbers, private key, public key. And the wallets help us basically help it make it simple, so you don't have to memorize 256 characters that are totally random. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to do it old school, you can just copy and paste those two numbers to someplace. And that's actually the method that I prefer. I used to take care of, this is a little story, I used to take care of a computer network for university. And when I first started backing things up, it was to tape drives. Now, I know that people might be familiar with cassette tapes if they're pretty old. But tape drives were still used in the early 2000s and in the late 90s to back up huge files and huge documents of universities and things like that, and banks and stuff were still using old-fashioned backup stuff. And what happened is you'd be backing it up, and you'd back it up, and then you need to, for some reason, the computer crashed or someone's computer crashed, you need to restore the server or a particular computer, and you'd go to your tape drive and it would fail. And then you'd go and call the company and ask for service, and you find that the company didn't exist anymore. So either the hardware of the tape was actually proprietary, you couldn't find another one, or the software that decoded the backup program was proprietary. So I learned not to trust anything. I backed up files. If I used encryption, I encrypted it with open source encryption so that I could use it without a proprietary copyright or anything like that. But usually I just backed them up file for file in a safe place with no encryption, no compression. And I had really good luck with that because I learned my lesson. Don't trust third parties. Don't trust third parties. No matter how nice they look, they're going to disappear and they're going to fade away. So it's a similar thing. Do you know that ledger is going to be there in 10 years? Like if you give a ledger to your grandson who can't talk right now and he goes to log on in 10 years and realizes that the little battery inside burst and leaked over the motherboard and now it's lost, can you guarantee that? I mean, you can give him one of those metal ones where you just put in the digits, you put them all in. You could give him that. That's probably going to be good. You could put a paper in a safety deposit box, a paper wallet. There's all different types of wallets, but one of the best ways to save it is digitally, of course. And if it is encrypted, it's safe. So I'll just tell you the way I encrypt mine, and I'll give you a little example. So, like I say, it's just those two numbers. So I take my file with my private keys in it, and I encrypt it with a program called, I think it's called 7-Zip. I'll leave a link in the description. 7-Zip, it's freeware. And there's many different programs that can decode this because what it's using is an encryption software that everyone knows. So I encrypt the file, and then I can put it anywhere I want. I can put it online. I can put it in my pocket in the thumb drive. I can put it in a drawer. I can even make many copies of it because it's going to be safe here. And let me give you an example of what encryption actually does. So I'll just bring this over here. So this is, and didn't work. One sec. This is an example of how long it would take with the current technology to crack a password. So to give you an example, let's do a simple password, like a word. Let's say Mary. So it would take 0 seconds. Because it's a word, it's even worse. But if we mix up the letters, see it says 0 seconds now. If we mess up the letters, it would take 5 seconds. So see, it's looking for words first. The smart ones are looking for words first. But if you say Mary was a mother, then you're looking at 2 seconds, right? Because it's all words, and that's, I don't know how many characters, like 12 characters or something. So we mix it up and use some of the same characters like that. There we have 8, I think, 8. And let's put in a number so that you've got 7 days. So first of all, this is with current good computers. My computer would take months to do this. But even if you had 2 numbers, you're looking at 1 year. No one's going to spend a year. And even with quantum computers, that would knock it down to maybe a week. No one's going to spend a week for you because, like, how much Bitcoin do you really have? Do you have $10,000? Do you have 20? Do you have 100? To rent out a supercomputer to crack your password, it won't be worth it. Now, watch what happens when you just add a little bit to that. So right now we have 10 digits. If you add just a little bit more, so even if you double things up and you add in 2 more numbers, it's ridiculous. So see, it's not worth it to hire a supercomputer or even a quantum computer in 10 years down the line to crack your thing, because it says 20 trillion years. Now sure, a supercomputer in 100 years will probably be able to do it in a few weeks, but I mean, that's 100 years and that's still a few weeks. So if we go down, see, even at like 13 characters, lowercase and numbers, you're at 94 years. So that's the current encryption. That's I will show you that encryption now. Actually, let's just go to I'm going to open up 7-Zip so you can see it. I'll just type it in here, 7-Zip. So this is a freeware program. It's safe to download. You're downloading it right from here, and you can download it. And as you'll see, it will it can encrypt. Let's see, where does it say it encrypts? Oh, well, maybe it might not say here, but it will encrypt your software at AES encryption 256, which is actually the same one Bitcoin uses. And oh, there it is. Here it is. It's AES 256 encryption. So you can encrypt your files at that. That's an open source encryption. So the good thing is anybody can have that encryption, and all the free programs like WinZip, ZipRoar, all these different freeware programs that you've been able to get for 20 years. Like for instance, 7-Zip I've been using for over 20 years. I think it's 7-Zip I've been using for over 20 years. But anyway, at least 10 years. They're going to be around. They've always been around. And you can just use them. Say you give your grandchild a file, it's zipped, or it's 7-Zip or whatever, you're going to be able to open it. He's going to be able to open it with all kinds of different software, and as long as he has the password, then he can open it. Now, how safe is it? You could give this file to your worst enemy, and he could never do anything with it, because that password needs to be inputted, or else the information doesn't make sense. So, and everybody can see the code, but they can't see your program. So they know which code they use to decrypt, which is the AES 256. But without the password, it doesn't make sense. It's like a key. You can have a whole Bible written encrypted, and with the key, it would make everything make sense. But without the key, it wouldn't make any sense at all. So anyway, that's one way you can do it. You can just have your file and encrypt it. Then you can keep it on your computer. You really run no risk. For a lot of people, that'll work better, because to have a hard wallet, it's an extra layer of technology, and everyone says it's better. It's better. It is, but there's just as many people losing their hard wallets and getting confused and thinking they're backing up stuff on their hard wallet when really they're backing it up on a random address. So you have to be careful both ways. And a lot of people, especially some of the old school people, they'd be more comfortable just with thinking about the private key, public key, just two numbers, and maybe a passphrase, which is a way into some of these other wallets. So while we're on that, I'll explain which wallet I use. So if it's a cold storage, that would be like a Ledger, Trezor, or Tangent, things like that, that are separate from the internet. So they're offline. And when you use it, you're just plugging in your information, and it's never really attached to the internet. And if it is, it's not for any length of time. So those ones use what's called a passcode. So it would be 12 words or 24 or 48 words. And as long as you memorize those words, it's an open source wallet code. So I think it's called bit 39. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that is a common open source code so that you can have a wallet. So say, for instance, I've used Exodus for about 5 years or more. Now, recently Exodus said that they're not supporting Windows 7 anymore. So I said, well, I'm going to have to move to another wallet that I like called Trust Wallet. And they said, well, you have to update your computer. I'm like, no, I'll update my wallet. I'll just move to a different wallet, because my Windows 7 computer works faster than most people's on Windows 11. So I take my 12 words that Exodus generated according to an open source algorithm on my computer when it was not online. I take those 12 words and I type them into the open source wallet called Trust Wallet when it's not online. And I'm able to access all my private and public keys for the different cryptocurrencies using that wallet format. So that's called a hot wallet. So it's not as safe because it's not as safe as, for instance, a cold wallet, or even what I was saying, storing your things in an encrypted file and putting them on a USB drive and taking it away from your computer. I mean, that is very safe actually, because once the encryption is applied, it's very safe. So if you're applying encryption with the computer offline, it's quite safe. So the reason why things aren't safe online is because people can be looking at your screen, or they can have a keystroke monitor or things like that, and they can find out what the passwords are. Now, if you have virus programs and you don't frequent sites like pornography and music and illegal software and game cheats and free games like counterfeited games, if you don't go on those sites, then your chances of having viruses are really low. So for instance, myself, I don't use any active virus protection because it slows down the computer. I check my computer regularly, and if ever I go on those sites, like if I downloaded some illegal things from a BitTorrent, so I turned on my virus protection, I go on those sites, and then I get the stuff, I check it, and then I shut off my virus protection, and I check regularly, like once a week, for viruses. So you can do things like that, and I've never had a problem. In fact, I click links on purpose. Well, I'm a bit of a computer geek, so I click links on purpose to see what kind of virus they have. In most cases, they're old viruses, and they don't do anything. But if you go to those sites, you're going to get a new virus. And sometimes the programs like BitTorrent, AVG, Norton Antivirus, McAfee, may he rest in peace. They're all they don't catch up. So the day zero viruses are more dangerous because they haven't found them. But most of the good companies will find the viruses within a few days and put them into their updated virus protection things. So you will be okay from Trojans and things like backdoors into your computer. And the way to know you have a virus is if you start getting crazy ads, which usually isn't a bad virus. If you start getting all kinds of crazy ads coming up all over your computer, that could be a virus. And if your computer slows down and starts heating up, that could also be a virus and a sign that somebody's in your back end going through your stuff. So if that's the case, take your computer offline, install some virus protection, and even go to a restore point that's further back. Anyway, that's a little off topic. So back to the wallets. The wallets that I recommend are now Trust Wallet. I exited for a long time. Those are called hot wallets, and they're really useful, and you'll use them a lot. Also, Blue Wallet and Moon for just Bitcoin are trustworthy and good, and I'll put some of these links down in the description. What I found is easiest for newcomers is actually Trust Wallet, and it's an open source code. As far as I know, haven't tested that myself, but they say it's open source code. It has all the different currencies in it. It's very easy to transact, and it does not give you access to your private keys, which is probably good for most people. I didn't like that. I want my private keys, but other than that, it seems very excellent for newcomers. And I wouldn't actually recommend cold storage wallets for newcomers because it adds an extra layer of complexity. And honestly, most people are going to use crypto on their phones. And even if you're saving, the Trust Wallet's still going to be very useful. So I used Exodus on the computer. You can still use an older version of it on the computer. If you have Windows 10, you can use it on the computer. And it's also an excellent option. It has multiple currencies. And it has its own kind of exchange. So does Trust Wallet. And you may want to use a VPN with Trust Wallet, though, because it's Binance. So first world countries like Canada, where I am, or the States, they will sometimes block you from using Binance. So just use a VPN, and you should be fine. The other thing with the wallets is they're also basically exchanges, so you can exchange things. You can buy currency on there. Just be careful though, because a lot of them don't have the best rates. Actually, Trust Wallet has good rates. If you use a totally online wallet, something like Shapeshift, for instance, excellent program, but it connects to your online wallet, which is also your wallet, like for instance MetaMask, Phantom, or something like that, or Tron Wallet or something. So it's very good too, but it's a third party, and it's the exchange, but it allows you to see your wallet online. So you can have a wallet on your phone, like a browser, and you can use something like MetaMask or Phantom or like Tron or something like that, or Trust Wallet inside of your browser, either on your phone or on your computer, and it allows you to see things. So I would say I would connect 1inch or Shapeshift to the wallet, and those are very reputable. They're called AMMs, which basically they source the best price from multiple different exchanges and give you the best price. Anyway, that's another video. So hope that helps. If you want, ask questions in the comments, and I will try to answer them for you. And I'll put some links in the notes below so that you can click on some of these links safely, like for instance 7-Zip. Have a good day.